Let's go back to Orange Man Bad.
Okay.
Because that's what's wrong. Orange Man bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't collude. Orange Man bad. But he didn't obstruct. Orange Man bad. But the Russians didn't affect the outcome of the election. Orange Man bad.
But he may have considered obstructing.
Well, I mean,
so let's grab that.
Who would not have considered? Who would not consider obstructing if somebody is investigating you professionally and personally? Who would not consider obstructing? You're a liar if you say you wouldn't. Every single one of us, if given the opportunity to consider whether obstructing or not, would consider it. There's a big difference in considering it and doing it. And there is no evidence that he did it. And the media still they're doubling down because they know there's a universe of people who want to be fed this ignoraneous commentary because it's not accurate anymore. Rev, if you go really back, and I want to go to Byron York's article because it's very interesting to me. Because York, I like Byron York. He's not a big Trump fan. Never has been. He and Jonah Goldberg both are kind of conservative writers. He's a freelance writer. He does some work for the National Review. He was a contributor to the now defunct Weekly Standard. Writes, I've seen a few things of his printed in the Washington Post when they feel like they've had when they get over 92% negative articles, they'll throw the Trumper a bone every now and then, and they'll allow. So it's once every 6 months. They'll let something. It's never complimentary, but it's not negative about Trump. But the 448 page. Now, Trump refers to the investigation as 2 years of BS. And he said that when he met with a group of Republican senators on Capitol Hill a couple of months ago. They were talking about issues and agendas and policy and whatnot. But if you think about it, at the heart of the entire investigation, there is one central question. Did the Trump campaign conspire, coordinate, or collude with Russia to influence the 2016 election? That is the central question. That's the reason we have the investigation. That's the only reason there was ever an investigation launched into Donald Trump. Bob Mueller, not yours truly, not Breitbart, not Fox News, Bob Mueller has concluded emphatically that did not happen. So the reason the investigation was launched, it wasn't a myriad of questions. It's not 6 or 8 or 10 things that may or may not have happened. It was one reason and one reason alone, and that should be the story. The embarrassment of an establishment that will concoct an idea based on an unsubstantiated dossier, and that lead to a 22-month, $30 million investigation. That's what your elites did to you. That's what the ruling class and the permanent class and the careerists and the Washington insiders, that's what they did to this country. Now, you can like Trump or not. You are perfectly entitled to have a glowing opinion of Donald Trump or an absolute abhorrent opinion of Donald Trump. But you're not allowed to continue saying things that aren't true and not be held into account. And Bob Mueller, once again, to the central question of the investigation, Mueller says there is no evidence whatsoever that that ever happened. Now everything else in this Trump saga, in this Trump investigation, it flows from that one question. In other words, Rev, Bob Manafort. I know it's Paul Manafort, but I'm going to call Bob Manafort Paul Mueller.
Right.
Paul Manafort's shady finances. And they are shady. They would have never come under investigation if it weren't for what? Whether Trump colluded with Russia or not. Carter Page would not have been wiretapped. Yes, he was wiretapped. Carter Page would have never been wiretapped if it were not for that one central question. Mike Flynn is a very different man today because he spent his life's fortune defending himself. Mike Flynn would never have been interviewed by the FBI if it were not for that one question that Bob Mueller says did not happen. Guess what? Billions, zillions, exabytes of hours of cable news and print media would not have expended their time on Trump, Russia, were it not for that question. There would have been no Mueller report were it not for that single question. And once again, Mueller, not me, not Rush Limbaugh, not Sean Hannity, not Laura Ingraham, not Breitbart, not Fox News, not the National Review, not the Weekly Standard, not George Will. Bob Mueller was asked to go find out whether or not Donald Trump colluded with Russia, and Bob Mueller has determined there was no collusion. That was the central question. And Mueller, once again, determined there is no collusion, okay? There is no criminal collusion. There is no proof beyond a reasonable doubt collusion. There just ain't no collusion. No collusion of any sort. And Mueller's report says it over and over and over and over again. In fact, I'm going to give you 7 exact quotes from the Mueller report where it is crystal clear that when Bob Mueller was asked to find out whether Trump colluded with Russia or not, he says, and I quote, "The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities." That's the first quote. That is in the 458-page document because I read it. Number 2, the investigation examined whether contacts between Russia and Trump figures involved or resulted in coordination or conspiracy with the Trump campaign and Russia, including with respect to Russia providing assistance to the campaign in exchange for any sort of favorable treatment in the future. Based on the available information, the investigation did not establish such coordination. There's 2 examples. I'm going to give you a third one, and then we'll go to the phone. The investigation did not establish that Carter Page coordinated with the Russian government in its efforts to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. There are 3 ironclad examples of Bob Mueller being as emphatic and crystal clear as he possibly can. He was asked to find out whether or not Trump colluded with Russia.